Is freaking hello, everybody. Welcome. It's book relaunch time. I am going to play a little song as we let everybody in just for fun. All right. If anyone's old enough to know Pat Benatar, the Glee version. Just give a little dance. All right. We're going to relaunch today. Welcome, everybody. Hello, hello. The mashup, if you know the words, get your air mic out. All right, I want to hear a little, I want to see some beats, I want to see some shimmies, some shakes. Welcome, everybody. Jackie and Amy and Wendy. Hi, Kakat. Hi, Susan. Hi, Rose. Okay. Who sang the original? Who's old enough to know? All right. Oh my God, Nina saw Pat Benatar in concert. Amazing. Oh, I love it. Woo! Sing along if you know the words. 2 songs mashed up. It's from Glee. Hi, Dana. Great to see you. Hi, Sandra. Hi, Chris. Brenda's here. We're going to give people about 1 minute. Take some deep breaths, roll those shoulders, feel goofy. It's Wednesday. We're singing along with Glee. Coming back to the chorus, everybody. I want to see those air mics or your podcast mics. Yeah, Blondie's mixed in. One way or another. Yeah. All right, everybody. So we're going to get these books, launch or relaunch, one way or another. Oh, good job. Here we go, 10 seconds. Thanks for having some fun. We are just, sometimes it's good to be silly. Anyone else like to laugh? Anyone else just like to not take it too seriously? So hello and welcome. If I have not had the pleasure and privilege of meeting you before, I'm Sara Connell. I'm a 5-time bestselling author and have the incredible gift and privilege of being the founder of Thought Leader Media. I coach our Thought Leader Academy, Mastery, and Oracle coaching groups, the Monetize Your Book Club, and all kinds of other things we do under the big umbrella of leading movements through thought leadership. So I want to hear in the chat, how many of you know that a book is a piece of a greater movement that you're here to lead? Put M for movement in the chat. You know that your book, your speaking, your social media, all the stuff, the coaching, the consulting, the expertise you have is actually part of a much bigger movement. Yeah. And it really just, like, I felt this seeing these M's. I'm just feeling the energy of that, right? That's just powerful. It's powerful. So we are going to move. We're going to move mountains. We're going to move obstacles. We're going to move the people we're here to serve in new ways today by coming together. And I have a lot to cover in an hour. We have a lot to go over. And so we're just going to get where we get. All right. Put a G in the chat if you're okay with that. We're going to get where we get because I am committed and I've set the intention with our team that you get something amazing out of today, that you get inspired, reinvigorated, a sense of empowerment and clarity, whether you are going to launch a book at some point and you came here to learn how to do it a way that's going to really be exciting and happy, make you happy, or whether you have a book. I've got 5 already out. Okay. And you want to have it go differently. And maybe you don't want to write a whole nother book just to be able to make the impact you want to make. Maybe you've got a great book that just not enough people know about. And so what we're going to talk about today, it applies if you have a book and you are going to think about a relaunch, or if you don't have a book yet and you are going to launch, because to do a good relaunch, you're basically doing a great strategy for a launch, right? So I want to just hear who in the chat is here excited about a relaunch. Put R if that's why you came today. You already have a book and you really wish it was doing more for you, and you wish that it was, you'd gotten bigger return on your investment. Yep. So we've got our relaunchers. All right. And some of you, like Gretchen, might be like me. I have books that I wish did more for me, and I'm writing a new book that's coming out next year, and I want to launch it better than I've ever launched before. Okay. So L in the chat, if you are launching a new book, you've not launched, you're not here to learn about a book you already have. You're here to put together a launch plan that's going to really serve you and give you some great results. Great. So we've got a beautiful mix. And that is exactly how we designed today's masterclass. And we might need to do a part two. I'm just saying right now up front, because there's just a lot to it, right? We could do a whole day on launches in general. I teach that in Thought Leader Academy, right? Those of you that train with us. Okay. Everything we're doing today is what we go deeper into in the Monetize Your Book Club. So everyone who's in the club can put club in the chat, because you know that every month we are working on a particular strategy amongst many to make daily sales and open opportunities, new opportunities every single month with our books. Okay, so when that is what we are doing in the club, and today we're specifically focusing and inviting other guests to join us and experience this so that you can understand more about launching and relaunching and have a much more empowered experience. Why are we talking about this? Why did we open the club to begin with? It's because the way that publishing is modeled and book launches are modeled are not set up for authors to win very well. And if you've launched a book, you might have experienced that, because we're taught to put out a book and talk about it for 1 to 3 months, and then it's supposed to sit on a shelf and magically do stuff for us. Magically, some books have like real longevity, and they kind of go to that stratospheric phenomenon kind of place. But you all either are or have poured your love, your soul, your genius, your magic into a book. And I'm obsessed with you getting consistent returns on that book. All right. So that's why we're here. That's the mission behind this. It's the mission behind the Monetize Your Book Club. If you're not already in the club, I will share with you at the end how you can join the club and be able to action everything we're talking about today that we can't, get to in 1 hour. All right. I do like to teach with visuals. If we haven't met each other before, I'm going to teach with visuals so that we can both learn by hearing and by seeing. And I just learn better when I can see things brought to life a little bit more. Okay. Hopefully we'll have some Q&A time at the end. I don't know, but either way, I'm going to aim to answer as many questions as we can. Yes. And we will definitely have a replay, and we will automatically send it to all of you, whether you want to listen again, or I know some of you have commitments, need to leave a little bit early. All right. So we're not going to do any more preamble. We're going to get right down into it. And now I have Pat Benatar in my head. So I've got to I've got to shift gears and pop over here right now. Okay. So I'm going to pull this up and then ask you and make sure that it loads properly for us. Just give it about 10 seconds. And can someone who's on camera give me a thumbs up if you see the Relaunch Masterclass slide? Beautiful. Thank you so much, Amy. All right. So today we're going to talk about the publishing standard and why it fails, just for a hot minute. And then we're going to talk about launch and relaunch strategy. And we're going to talk about what I'm going to invite you to do is be building as we talk through launching and relaunching. I want everybody, if you can, to have something either to type onto or to physically write with, so that anything that you hear here today that you think, oh, I want to do that for a launch or a relaunch, I want you to take notes as we go, so that you start to build that's what's going to be the nuts and bolts of your relaunch or your launch plan. Okay, so if you can put N in the chat for notes, if you're up for that. You're going to listen as we go through different strategies, different ideas, and anything that you say, ooh, that feels cool, I like that, you're going to put it on your notes list. Okay, fabulous. All right. Typical book launch, as I said a minute ago, we're taught to put a book out there, do a little bit or a lot of stuff for about 1 to 3 months. The average non-celebrity author sells under 200 books ever. And then the book basically just sits there and does nothing. That is really freaking depressing and really, to me, unacceptable for how much time and money and everything that we spend on books. So if anyone had an initial launch like this or knows someone that did, and maybe your numbers were a little bit better and you promoted it longer, or you sold a little more books and it's been moderately effective, yeah, you're above, you're in the 10%, top 10% of any authors that aren't. Again, if you're Michelle Obama, that's going to be a different situation, right? But for the mortals, right, of us, then we're, yeah, Karen said she was averaging 200 for each new book she's put out. Yeah, that's the norm. That's nothing. You didn't do it wrong, Karen. It's just no one has taught us what else we can do necessarily, right? If you didn't have a big marketing engine, you weren't paying 15,000 a month for a PR firm. Okay, so we are changing that, right? Can just high fives. We are changing these statistics. This group, the Monetize Your Book Club, those of you in the club, those of you that join us in the club, that is what we're doing. We're changing the game. And I want to talk about, we can talk about what the industry is not great because it doesn't give us a good model. If again, we're not spending six figures on or more on PR and we're not a celebrity, then it doesn't, there's not a lot of models for how to maybe do that differently. And there are also things, that's the industry. But I look at myself in the book launches I've had, and I can see things that I made mistakes or, things I just didn't understand to do differently. And I want to talk about those. And you can see, those of you that have launched a book, with no judgment. This is like all we're shown how to do. But I'll tell you the three biggest mistakes I've made. And then you can see if any of these resonate with you and you put them in the chat. Okay. The first is that our strategy does not match our ideal outcomes. So if my ideal outcome is to sell 10,000 books, I did not have a strategy that was actually going to put me in a position to be able to do that, right? Or if my strategy was to attract speaking engagements where I'd be in front of my ideal client and be able to serve people and inspire people and we'd get to work together, I didn't have a strategy where my book was leading me to speaking engagements where I was in front of my ideal clients. Or fill in the blank. You want to be in the media, but no one in the media ever knew about your book because you didn't pitch the media and you didn't send out a press release, right? Our strategy in many cases did not match our outcome. So I want to see outcome in the chat if this resonates for those of you that have a book. You realize maybe just as you think about it and look back that you had a desire, but you didn't have a strategy that matched setting that outcome up for success. So that was true for me in multiple different occasions. I didn't have the right strategy or strategies to get me the outcome that I wanted, right? Okay, so a couple of you have had that experience. A second top cause of us not having the ideal launch is that we don't give enough time to promote and execute the strategies we do think of. So for example, if I want to do a really awesome podcast tour and I want to do what Ben Hardy did when he launched his books with Dan Sullivan, I want to go on 100 podcasts before my book comes out. But I don't start approaching any podcasts until a month before my book comes out. That is not enough time because first of all, a lot of podcasts, big ones especially, they're booking out many months in advance to even have a guest, and they don't run that episode then for months after that. So I'm already booked on certain podcasts for next year in 2026. Bigger ones, right? So was time an issue? Put time in the chat. If you have experienced where you realize that it's now almost time to launch and you really haven't set anything up, events, if you want to do bookstore events, but you didn't talk to the bookstores and they don't have any openings, or you didn't have time to build a relationship with a particular conference and you wanted to speak at the conference and sell your book, but they took applications 6 months before you thought about applying to it. Okay. So time is the second big culprit where we don't get the results we want, our runway, if you will. And the third reason that I and many people I've coached have not gotten the results they've wanted until we do it differently is because we just didn't, not enough people ever found out about the book. This is visibility. So put V in the chat if this, do you think those of you that launched had an impact? Not enough people ever heard about the book. And this typically happens if we only let people who know us already know about the book, right? Because very few of us already have the size of audience and contacts of the amount of books and impact we want to make, right? So visibility is the biggest. Now, I want you to put, those of you that have a book already and you launched a book, Was it number one, two, three, or more than one of those? Just put the numbers that you feel like really impacted um, as you're now reflecting on it. If it's all three, you'd put three. If it's, one and two, just kind of put so we can all know we're not alone. All right. I don't want anybody to feel like, oh, we messed up. It's okay. No one showed us how to do it differently in most cases, or we didn't have the resources, or we didn't think of it in time, and we learn. Awesome. So nobody's alone here. Okay. All right. The cool part is that we get to change all of that. We get to change the paradigm in the industry. That's what we do in the club, because we're working on daily sales and monthly opportunities with the book, and we're going to change the way we launch. And if I gave myself a score of 1 to 10 on my book launches, there's only one I felt really, really, really good about. And I still would have given myself like a 5 of what I wanted to do with that book, just because of, different resources and when I started and all that. But I have a lot of, Dana is saying it's hard to know what strategy will achieve the goal we set. So we're going to talk about that today. And Dana, luckily, since you're in the club, we'll be talking about that ongoing. All right. Great, great point. I want to offer everybody to take a deep breath. And just, even if you don't believe it yet, say to yourself, try saying, this is the exact and perfect time for me to launch or relaunch. This, whether it's this year, this month, whenever you're going to do your relaunch, we'll talk about timing. This is the exact and perfect time for me to launch or relaunch my book. So we're gonna erase any judgments, any regrets. We're gonna just start to dissolve that using the power of our mind. We're gonna affirm this is the exact and perfect time for me to relaunch and launch. 10 years ago, 20 years ago, we could not have had this masterclass because there was so much sort of systemic and gatekeeping and things around book launches. Now, we absolutely can launch and relaunch anytime we want. We can do it over and do it differently. That is the best. You could put to a lot of things you might not like about the era we are in the world, but this is an era that I am excited about for myself and all of you, because we can relaunch and do things very differently with an existing book. Okay. An optimal book launch starts or relaunch starts with a vision. So back to that, what outcomes do I want? What strategies do I need? A lot of times, maybe we didn't even have a chance to create a real vision for our launch. Maybe we just said, oh, I guess I'll read at the bookstore because that's what I've seen people do. Or I guess I put my book up on Amazon because I guess that's what you do. Maybe we didn't even really flesh out a vision. Okay, so what's your vision? Right? We're going to talk about your ideal vision, your outcomes. Is it speaking? Is it being on certain podcasts? Is it certain words or impact? Is it having a certain number of people's lives change because they get to buy your book or receive your book, right? Your book launch strategy is going to be a Venn diagram of 3 different things. Okay, I'm going to give you time to go back to your vision. Don't worry, that wasn't like a 2-second drive-by. We're going to go back to that in a second. But I want to just position this idea that there's really 3 components to an effective launch or relaunch. It needs to be, as we're talking about, and we'll dive into in a minute a little more deeply, aligned with your ideal outcomes, your vision. It also means we need to be in front of the people we actually want to serve, the people that would want this book, right? It can't just be friends and family. The comfortable thing is to let someone host a little party for you or tell people about it because that's comfortable. But A, that's probably not enough people for the impact you want to make. And B, your friends and family may not be the people you wrote the book for. Maybe with your friends, there's a little overlap. But I certainly know that my family is not the people that, are the real readers of my books. Okay. And the kind of launch strategies you use, I believe, must match with your passion and genius. When I say that, I mean, if you're someone that just loves bookstores and loves the traditional model where you do in conversation with and you do a reading and that's wonderful. But there's some of you that don't want that. And your ideal people don't go to bookstore events. So that is not a good use of your launch time. Unless you just want to do it because it's fun, which is freaking, go for it. Put it on there, but that's not going to be the main mover of you getting your outcomes. Okay. So it's really these three things that we're going to be reinforcing and diving into today and every month in the club. Aligned with your ideal vision, in front of the people who really want this book and the further work that you do. And it needs, the strategies need to match our passion and genius. Because if you hate podcasts and someone says the only way to do a good book launch is to go on 100 podcasts, you are going to resist it, you're going to procrastinate, and you're going to feel awkward, and it's not going to work anyway. On the flip side, I have people who say, you know what? I hate all the other stuff. I just love podcasts. And that's your whole strategy. And you go do that. And it's fabulous. As long as you're on podcasts where the people who want your book are listening and you talk about your book, that can be a great strategy. So I just want to just put A for alignment in the chat. If everyone is committing as a group that we're gonna really put all of this strategy through an alignment litmus test. It's got to align with your passion and your genius. If you're really great at interviews, good, do that kind of event. But if you're not, there's other things you can do. Okay. What doors, this is your vision, what doors do you want this book launch or relaunch to open for you? I'm going to share the doors that the people that I coach, those of you in the club, those of you in our thought leader programs, say these are our top favorites, okay? Is your ideal outcome of your relaunch or your launch to hit a particular bestseller list? Write that down if it is, because you need a launch strategy for that. Is it to speak on stages, podcasts, small group guest speaking, give paid keynotes? Different strategies will get you that, right? Is it attracting ideal clients? If you coach, consult, you have a private practice, something like that. Do you want this book launch to lead people to invest in a course, retreat, or event with you? A lot of our authors in our thought leader programs, they'll use their book launch to directly and sell people into and have people join a course, right? So they're buying the book, they're also registering for a course. They're generating revenue in two ways then. Do you want this book launch to position you as an industry expert? Different strategies for that than selling people into a course. Do you want to be featured in the media and be the go-to person that CNN or your local morning show or whatever it is calls when they want someone to speak on your topic? Is it straight up revenue generation? Do you say, I want $100,000. One of our clients a few years ago, she said, Sara, I want to make $100,000 on the week of my book launch. And we put together the strategy for that for her. She went on 12 podcasts. She did an online event. She offered her a coaching program, and she made $102,000 that week of her book launch. But we got to start with an outcome. We had to make a strategy that would get her in front of enough people who were excited to invest $5,000 each into this particular coaching that she did. The book sales were kind of a bonus, right? She wanted to make that money through coaching the week of her book launch. Do you want to build strategic partnerships and have affiliates? Is it about relationships and partnerships that you want this book to open up for you? Or is there something else? Okay, so I want everybody to think about it. I know this is rapid fire, but in order to get through everything, I want you to think of one or two or all of the above and just what is most important to you. If you want to put it in the chat, you can just write it down in your notes. What are the outcomes you want from this book launch so that we can make sure you are picking book events and book strategies and launch experiences that are going to set you up for that? Okay, Sue's going for the course. Okay, attract clients, partnerships, industry expert, revenue, and course. I love the clarity here, right? Because otherwise we might do it like we said, oh, I'm just, going to go do a reading. Well, only if that gets you your outcome. Yeah, Geraldine, it might be all of the above. In fact, if I look at this list for my next book launch, I think it's every single one of these. I'm all. You can put all, right? If you want to have people read the book, sell books. Yeah, Christina's like, I want to be on the Today Show. So that's going to be a different strategy than someone's going to sell into a course or someone that wants to develop affiliates. Awesome. Great. Jackie's with me, having an all of the above. I love it. Great job. Okay. So just so you know, this is like, if your goal is to hit a particular bestseller list, you're going to need a bestseller campaign for that list. The strategy for New York Times is different than USA Today, which is different than Amazon, right? I know the strategy for all of them. We teach the strategy for any of those. They're different strategies. And it will likely include having a street team or book ambassadors or affiliates in some way, influencers, right? Doesn't have to, but many of the time. Speaking, you're really needing a pitching strategy to like make sure that you're getting the book and as in part of your pitch in front of people that are booking speakers, attracting clients. You're going to need some kind of a sales process, a funnel or a book portal, right? Launching your course or event, you need to have, again, a funnel or a promotional plan for that. Industry leading, if you want to be seen as an industry leader, that's about positioning, marketing, branding. Being featured in the media is either you knowing how to pitch the media or hiring someone who does, right? We teach how to do it yourself because I did all my stuff without PR campaigns or ads. Generating revenue, again, marketing, a funnel, strategic partnerships, outreach, and networking. So just understand this is back to, Dana, this may not fully answer your question. And so I welcome you to, we can coach on like which strategy, right? If I want to sell into a course, then I need a specific strategy that's going to have people go from book to course versus I want to make strategic partnerships. Then it's about relationship building and networking. Okay. So just make some notes there and you'll all have the replay. You can go back since we're kind of barreling through this. All right. Now your reach is getting in front of the people you want. Now, who are you trying to reach? Some of you said, I'm reaching readers because I want them to buy my book. Great. Then it's about where are your readers hanging out? Do they hang out on social media? Then you're going to want to have your launch strategy really being promoted and in some way taking shape also in social media. If your people go to bookstores and book events, you want to do a book tour, right? If your real strategy is like, if Christina said, my number one thing I want from my book is to be on the Today Show, then she's really going to be networking with media producers, getting in front of media producers and maybe PR people, right? If you're real people you want to meet is you're really using the book to get on stages, then you're really focused on getting your book in front of speaking bookers and event producers and meeting planners so that they know about you and your book and your topic and book you to speak. If your real goal is strategic partnerships, where are the people you want to partner with hanging out? Are they in masterminds? Are they attending networking events? Are they, where are they? Right? So you can get in front of them. So it's the strategy and also where are you, reaching these people. Your ideal clients are hanging out different places than the media producers, than the speaking bookers and the strategic partners, potentially. So I just want you to make some notes here about who is it you're mostly wanting. It might be more than one. You want to reach your ideal readers or clients and also media producers. Fine, that's great. You can have all of the above. You could have more than one of these, but it's important to know who we want to be reaching about the book is not necessarily just the general public, depending on that vision. So just put an insight in the chat from this piece. What's coming to you now about, okay, I need to make sure in my launch or my relaunch that I'm making sure that whatever marketing I'm doing, whatever events I'm doing are getting in front of the right people. Okay, so if that sparked something for you, then just put a note about that in the chat so you can kind of anchor it and integrate it. Even if simply, oh, I'm now clearer on the fact that I actually am needing to reach multiple audiences. Yeah, finding the book's audience. And if you're not sure, like Summer was like, I need to find the book's audience. Like, yeah, this is important work before we launch or relaunch. Where are the people that we want to serve? Okay, so I'm going to give some examples, just so this isn't theory, it's real. So Amanda Hinman's one of our, she's a beloved friend. She's one of our thought leader clients, and Amanda did a book on thyroid and hormone solution. She helps women, especially 40s and 50s, really take control of their health, get in peak condition, feel energized, release weight that doesn't serve them, balance their hormones. And when she was getting ready to launch her book, she said, okay, Sarah, so I guess I should contact bookstores. And I said, well, it depends. And we did this exercise. What is her real outcome? Who does she want to reach? She realizes that the women that she wants to reach have children in middle school and high school typically. They don't go to bookstores for events. They don't have time. They don't have time to do that. They are hanging out on social media. Their treat at the end of the day or in the middle of the day or waiting at the travel soccer game or whatever it is like they'll scroll Instagram or they'll scroll Facebook or they'll go, on YouTube Okay. So Amanda's number one desire was to attract her ideal people that she can help transform their health and generate revenue through her coaching, her functional medicine practice. And so it would have been really unhelpful if she did a book tour in bookstores, because none of the people she's hoping to attract as ideal clients are going to those events. They don't have time. And she wouldn't have generated revenue. And she actually cared almost very little about the book sales when we got right down to it and did this work that you're all doing today. She really wanted to just attract. So even before her book came out, we came up with a strategy where she was offering a QR code to her book portal, which is something we teach in the club. And so she didn't have to wait for the book to come out, for the book to be attracting ideal clients and revenue. She went on podcasts because her people also listen to podcasts. And she went on social media and she talked about the upcoming book. And she gave people a code to go in and actually get some of the resources from the book before it was even out. And some of those people ended up hiring her before the book even was launched. And then when it launched, it could attract more. Just really took her business to the next level, right? So I want you all to think, maybe, oh, but I want to, do the Today Show. But are your people watching the Today Show? Now, the Today Show has esteem and, like that has other, like, it gives people a big wow, right? All right. So I just want to use this as an example of, we created a special strategy for Amanda that was purely about what she wanted, which is attracting clients and generating revenue, meaning high ticket revenue, one-on-one coaching in groups, not just her book sales. Okay. So that was a different strategy, right? Which involved this book portal and involved her being on podcasts and social media. And that's an example of, just if you don't know what a book portal, it's a place where you can have your resources from the book, worksheets or videos or ways for people to really get deeper in the content and take action. And they opt in by giving their name and email. Okay. So you might want to make a note about that. If your main goal is attract clients and generate revenue, you might want to think about, again, Amanda's people are podcasts and social. Your people might be on LinkedIn and they go to literary events. If you don't know, that is crucial before you launch to figure out. That's your homework. Okay, Dr. Ingrid Burnett Ziegler, one of our thought leader clients, right? She really wanted with her book to be an industry leader, to be seen as an industry leader and affect change. She's a psychologist at Northwestern University, where she and I both went. And for her, then it was about placing articles in prestigious places. It was about her speaking on stages and getting in the media, because her goal was industry expert and affecting change. She was the only woman of color at the time working in the therapeutic practice at Northwestern. It was a huge barrier to many, many, many people getting therapy, because they wanted to see people, she knew they wanted more people that they could relate to and look like. She wanted to have more colleagues of color, right? So it was about media, speaking, really leading a movement was so important in the strategy that she did, right? So I just want to show some real life examples of people in our community that, it's like Amanda's launch was different than Ingrid's launch. She got an article in the New York Times, because then you get an article about the book. Okay. Selena Sue, beloved colleague of mine, she'll be presenting with us on August 6th in our Monetize Your Book Summit. But, Selena's goal was get on the USA Today bestseller list. She really, 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 that was important to her. It was important for kind of the positioning she wanted to do with her brand, the reach she wanted to make, because she knew that was many thousands of books, not the 200 average. And so this was her main focus. And so Selena did this through affiliate relationships. For 6+ months, she hosted online events where she offered really fun incentives and bundles for people in her network that she had what she calls rich relationships with, which is the theme of her book. And I was one of them. And she invited us all to buy books in bulk that would count towards the USA Today bestseller list and share them with our clients and our communities. And she created all kinds of fun events. She did a live event in New York City where she launched the book live. It was like a pre-launch in New York City, and she actually hit the USA Today bestseller list while we were all in the room together, which was really exciting. So again, her launch strategy was to get affiliates who would buy books in bulk and share with their communities and come together as a street team and street ambassadors to support her book. So totally different strategy than Amanda and totally different strategy than Inger. So put G for I'm getting it in the chat if this makes sense, that we don't all just do one thing. We don't all just go to the bookstore and do some readings. That is not going to get each of us our individual. You each have a different vision. And you have also different audiences. So even though some of you have the same desired outcome, your people might be hanging out more in one place than another. Selena's ideal person who she knows will be on her street team, she's not focusing as much on readers. Her whole pre-launch strategy was about affiliates, about relationships of people that can get the word out on her behalf. And so that she's not focused on where do my readers hang out yet. She's focused on where do my ideal affiliates hang out. And then getting in front of those people through networking. All about networking, which is cool because that's what she teaches and what she's an expert in. So just check in with yourself and look at your notes and put an I if you want, if you feel like you have one idea that's come through so far from what we've covered so far, whether it's for a launch or a relaunch. If you've got one idea, and one of you asked, how many books do you need? I know, I will tell you, Geraldine, because I am obsessed with this stuff and I can tell you exactly. So USA Today on a typical week, which can always depend if like Oprah launches a book, it's gonna, you're always with whatever books are launching. Typically to get on USA Today, it's about 4,000 books, 4,000 to 6,000 books. And then to get on the New York Times, it can be around more like 20,000 in one week. And they cannot just all be from Amazon. They cannot all be online. They cannot all be from one event. They cannot all be from one place. They must be bought all over the country. They must be bought at different types of retailers like brick and mortar stores, independent bookstores, Barnes and Nobles, online retailers. It's a whole situation. And if anyone wants me to do a whole thing about the 3 top lists, the Amazon, USA Today, because the Wall Street Journal went away, sadly. But if anyone wants me to do that, I will do a session in the club. I will do a whole bonus session for if you guys want me to break down like the lists and all the things, because I have like relentlessly and obsessively studied them and code cracked them in terms of, now, it doesn't mean it's easy because it, like, Selena had to get, more than 100 people on her street team to make it happen. Amazon can be in the hundreds, right? Amazon to get bestseller can be more in the hundreds versus the thousands, the 4 to 6,000 USA Today and the 20,000-ish New York Times. Yeah. And again, it can't just all be, it has to go through this thing called BookScan. Believe me, I will nerd out with anybody all day long. Okay. So a few of you said yes to that. All right. We will do it in the club. Oh my goodness. What happened to my screen? Did you guys see that? It just jolted. I got too excited. All right, let me get it back up for us. All right, so let me get this back where we can all share. I hit something in my enthusiasm. All right, so here we go. What are we going to do to put together this launch or this relaunch plan? All right. Okay. So you also want to think about, we've talked now about your outcomes. What's your vision? What do you want to have happen from your launch or your relaunch? We've talked about who do you really need to reach? Remember, Selena's reaching really book ambassadors, whereas Amanda was wanting to reach her ideal clients who are typically mothers who don't have time to go to anything. So she needed to reach them on podcasts and social media. Whereas Inger needed to position herself as an industry leader and get in the media and get, her work seen in a really, reputable places. Okay. So third part of our 3 in our Venn diagram is what kind of channels, what kind of experiences are you excited to do your relaunch or your launch as an online event, an in-person event? Do you want to have multiple events like a book tour with sponsors? Again, is it including media appearances, a podcast tour? Are you focusing again more like Amanda on social media? Or do you want to be guest speaking? Okay, these are different, what you might be doing more than one of these. You might be doing one of these. But you want to know which ones match again but also which ones are you good at. If you hate being on camera, then you are not going to want to do an online event or a media thing. But you might do podcasts that don't have video, or you might do an in-person event at a bookstore because that feels really good to you, right? So make a note of your channels. This is about what lights you up. No comparison to other people, no comparison to what other people are doing, what you're supposed to do. What will be the most successful are the things that light you up, that also Venn diagram with where your person that you're trying to reach or your groups that you're trying to reach consume experiences and content, okay? It has to match those. All right. So I'm just going to run through really, really quickly so that we can get into the rest of our time building your launch or your relaunch plan. You're going to choose the type of event or events that excites you, that align with your genius, align with the type of things, because you might love bookstores, but like Amanda, if none of your people are going to have time to go to a bookstore event, that is not a good use of your launch plan. If you want to do an in-person event, you need to partner with a venue, whether it's a bookstore, a restaurant, a spa, a yoga studio, a cultural center, a community organization. And you want to promote early if it's in person so people save the date and share about it everywhere, okay? If you want to be in bookstores specifically, right, that can be on your list. You're going to network with bookstores months and months before. I'll give you a timeline in a second of how long, for each of these things. Maybe you want to do something unexpected. One of our clients, Dr. Marina Costina, she had been a performer. She's also a doctor. So she's just one of these incredible kind of Renaissance women. And she had this she rented a warehouse and had people performing and singing and speaking different languages because she's lived originally from Russia and lives here now and speaks 6 languages. And it was this whole like almost Cirque du Soleil experience. Okay. So maybe you're going to do something you don't have to just read from your book. What lights you up? What's you? The reason Marina's book launch was so successful is because she was expressing all of who she was around her book and creating an entire experience. Okay. If you want to do a book tour, right? I did a book tour for The Science of Getting Rich for Women. I'll be doing a book tour for The Download, which is my next book that comes out in 2026. I think we're going to do it. I did 5 cities for Science of Getting Rich for Women. We're going to do a 10 to 20 city tour for The Download, kind of just depending on a lot of scheduling things. All right. If you want to do that, again, you're going to need to decide what cities where you know people, decide, are you doing it at bookstores or venues? I would recommend choosing cities where you know people or you just really love to visit, but you want to be able, especially if you're partnering with a venue, to say you know some people that will come, because venues might partner and promote you, but they want to know that you're going to bring some people. They'll publish, they'll promote it, you'll promote it. Okay, plan your tour. If you want sponsors, because it could cost a lot to go on the road and travel if you're going to be doing in-person book tours, right? Then you're going to identify companies and products that also want to be in front of your ideal audience at these events, and you demonstrate a win-win for them. If you know that everyone that loves your kind of book also is obsessed with biohacking products, then you can reach out to, companies like Oura Ring and Beamer Mat and different Amber Ray glasses. And you could say, would you like to sponsor the book tour? Because their product could get in front of groups of their ideal person. And then you're not paying for your travel and your accommodations in that way. So in my last book tour, we got sponsored by the Edition hotels, which are beautiful hotels. And we promoted their hotels on social media. And I did a little bit of content around, checking in, and we're here for the New York City book event, and we're here. And they donated the hotel rooms. I was ecstatic because hotel rooms, especially in New York City and places like that, are very expensive. Okay. So you can think about, all kinds of different ways you could partner with companies if you want to have your book tour subsidized, sponsored. If you love online events, you want to just have it be easy, have people show up. Many, many, many of our Monetize Your Book Club members and Thought Leader members do online events. You can do an online event and in person. Alex Hormozy did the biggest online book launch of all time a couple years ago. His next one is in August. It's coming up in a few weeks. He had 26,000 affiliates. He said, I'm going to have the biggest book launch of all time. It was like, I built the Titanic, right? And he did. He did. He had millions of people participate in an online book launch. Biggest book launch ever to happen online. Okay, so I just want to give you an extreme example of like online doesn't mean small. And I think 2 million books later sold, I think Alex would say it was pretty darn big. That's why I'm doing it again. Put H in the chat if anyone went to that book launch. I went to it. It was really fascinating. I'm definitely going to his one in a couple weeks. Okay. It's amazing. He spent all his time with affiliates, right? He didn't spend his time trying to reach his readers yet. He knew if he got an incredible ambassador team, they'd bring their people and his readers would be there. Okay. If you're doing online events, same thing. What style excites you? Do you want to have music? Is it a party? Is it a more somber and just deep reading? Is it a workshop because you like experiences? I like to make my online events an experience where I teach something from the book, not just read from the book. Okay. You could offer prizes, book giveaways, and you want to have a call to action if it's to buy the book or to register for a course or whatever it might be. So Carol Look, one of our Thought Leader members, right? She, at her first book launch, she wanted to have an online event that seemed really like fun for her and manageable. And she has people from, she wanted to be able to invite people that don't have to travel anywhere. She didn't want to have to travel anywhere and rent a venue and do all that work. And she knew that actually most of her people would come to an online event versus an in-person. So she had 1,500 people sign up to her online event, and 250 people joined her course right there. Yeah, you want to have the book for sale if your goal is to sell books already. So you want the book to be for sale if your goal is to actually have people buy the book live at your online or in-person event. Chris was asking when to do it. So yeah, you'd want the book available. Now, if your main goal is to have people, join your email list, or to, you don't have to wait, because you could offer a way for them to do that or to do a course. But people usually like the book to be available when it's an actual book launch event. So I'd recommend having it be during a lot of big New York Times authors will do a podcast tour before it's available, and people will pre-order because that's part of the New York Times strategy. Otherwise, I wouldn't. I would wait till, the book's available. Like the first week it's available is great. All right. So everyone take a breath. We get to relaunch. We get to restart. Or if you haven't done one yet, you're going to start. All right. So let's start building out. You've got ideas forming, hopefully, from what we've been through already, what's going to go on your launch plan. But I want to offer to everyone, if you're relaunching, I'm inviting you into, and I want everybody who's willing to do this to themselves. A big hug, total love, acceptance, compassion, forgiveness. If you did a launch and you're now thinking there's a lot of different things you wish you'd done or started earlier or got in front of more people, that is okay. You join the club. That's like 99% of all people, including celebrities, probably feel like there's more. We're going to wipe the slate clean. We're going to create a new vision. And you get to decide today whether you're launching a new book for the first time or you're relaunching, to do it in a powerful way, in a way that's going to get you those outcomes. All right. So put me in the chat if you're willing to do this. You're willing to be so loving to yourself, no judgment, no giving yourself a hard time. Just, I'm going to be so loving to myself, and I'm going to create a new vision, whether it's for an initial book or a relaunch. Okay. Love it. The relaunch, those of you relaunching, I think of the 3 W's. It's about why, when, and when. If we're relaunching and people already know we have a book and we did some stuff at a launch, we want to do the why, when, and when. Okay. And this is true for a new book, but this is particularly those of you relaunching. All right. You want to be able to be like, yay, I did it. Like this happy author. All right. The why. So one reason you might get ready to relaunch is because you could choose as a why for a relaunch to do a different version of your book. You do not have to. You can use the exact version you have. I'm just saying this is an option. Some people will relaunch when they have the audiobook ready, and they'll still promote the actual physical book too. Or maybe you are going to make a workbook and make that available, and it wasn't available when you launched, or you never promoted your workbook even though it was available. So you could do a relaunch around a new product, a new version of your book, or like you're launching a new course and the book kind of sets it up. You could do anything. Okay. So I want to have you put a P in the chat if this is exciting to you. The idea of, oh, why would I be relaunching? What makes sense? Well, I could offer some kind of a new thing, a companion, a version, or whatever. You don't have to. Okay. I've got 2 other ideas for you here, but maybe some of you feel like that just gives you an extra reason. It's like, hey, the audiobook of fill in blank of your title is out, and you're also relaunching the whole book in all its forms. Okay. Maybe there's a new hook, a new study, a statistic, a news story, a trend has come out recently that has to do with your topic, even if you wrote it 10 years ago. And that's a whole reason to relaunch. So I always said that I thought it would have been so amazing if, I think it's, is it Gay Hendricks or Gary Chapman who wrote the 5 love languages? One of you will know. And if they'd relaunched that book during the pandemic, even though it came out decades before, Gary Chapman, thank you. Um, if if that book had relaunched during the pandemic, I think that could have had a whole nother hit on the New York Times bestseller list, because all of a sudden people were at home and they're quarantined, and it's like, wow, it's really important to know each other's love languages and get along better, right? It could be a new event, again, a course, a workshop, a retreat. Maybe you're going to offer a 30-day challenge to have people do your book with you, if it's a self-help kind of a book, a thought leader book. So you could relaunch your whole book around the fact that you're going to actually do a challenge for people to do the work of the book with you. And who cares if you launched it 5 years ago? You're now doing a real challenge around it. Wendy, it's really unlimited. This is what I'm hoping that we get inspired about today. You could do a new launch of your book every year if you want to. And you could have a different hook, a different product, a different event, a different cool thing around it. Yes, I love that you asked that. Okay. We also want to think about when. When is the right time to relaunch or launch? Well, if it's a relaunch, another move you might want to consider is you can go to www.nationaldaycalendar.com, and there's international ones as well, and you can find every single, it's self-care month, it's Women's History Day. It's think about your topic and find a national day or an international day of that might relate to it. And you could do a whole relaunch because it's the national day of or the month of something that relates to your book. And if you don't find anything on those websites that relates to your book, we have had 3 people that I've coached make up their own day. And they relaunched because they were not happy. They came for coaching after they launched a book and didn't get results. And what was so fun is they did a relaunch and made up. They said, you know what? There's no national day of fill in the blank of their topic. Now there is. I am declaring, March 20th, national day of, and we're going to have an event and I'm going to share about my book. And you could do a whole relaunch around a day you make up or a day that exists. And both have been, we've had clients be wildly successful doing they made their own day. In fact, that's a real thought leader move. You say, why isn't there a national day of fill in the blank of your topic? Maybe you write fiction. It's National Time Travel Day. Fill in the blank. All right. Also, the when is determined by the ideal runway you need. Remember, we talked about a mistake many of us have made, a mistake I have made. I didn't give myself enough time to plan the launch of my dreams, the launch that would get me my outcomes. So I'm going to give you this. Take a screenshot if you want to. If you want to do a relaunch or a launch that involves a book ambassador team, you are going to likely want to start about 9 months from your launch or your relaunch, unless you already have like a phenomenal group of people who are like ready to rock in a month's notice to promote you. Some of you have that. But if you want to do a real big one like Selena Sue did that was talking about, you want to start that early, make relationships, start building excitement, offer people cool incentives. If you want an influencer campaign, which is like an ambassador campaign, more like people who have good followings on social media, 6 months, even you could get away. I used to run influencer campaigns for our clients in like 2 months. Okay. If you want to do a book tour, like a physical book tour where you go places, I would give yourself 6 months, because you want to be able to talk to bookstores or venues and make plans, and they might have events planned out a little further. If you're launching a new event, product, course, workshop, event, you might want to do around 3 months. You can do all of this faster, but I just want to give you like the sort of, like ideal if you have the time, but you could do it faster. If you're just going to a warm audience, if your whole goal is like, I want to let my kind of people that sort of have heard about me or friends of people, 1 degree of separation, you could do this. You could do your relaunch or your launch within a month. And remember, any of you who might be like, oh, I'm launching soon and I didn't give myself this runway, guess what you get to do? Relaunch. Do a launch now and then do a relaunch in 9 months or 6 months around something, one of these techniques, right? Okay. What's the win? You're going to tell yourself, this is the exact perfect time for me to launch or relaunch. And you're going to ask, what is it going to take for you internally in your mindset and externally in your strategy and action to get the kind of return on investment you want from your launch? And a game I play that has helped me, and I will be doing it for my next book. Play the game, see what happens if you pretend you've been hired to be the person to promote this book. Even though it's your book, you're going to pretend you are an outside person that were hired to make this launch a massive success. This is your job. You've been paid to do this by a company. Because if you're like me, you will do a lot more if you were having to do this for someone else as a paid thing than if you're thinking about promoting my own book. Put R for resonate or relate in the chat if you agree that if someone hired you to run their book launch, you would probably do more, go bigger, promote bigger, network bigger, ideate bigger. Sandra's like, hard resonate. Yeah, because we just, it feels harder when it's for us. We got all our gremlins, all our crap. So just hack your brain and try out pretending you got hired. Who's going to play this game with me? I want to know who's going to do it. I'm doing this. This launch is going to be my biggest and best I've ever done because there's so many things I wish I'd done differently in the previous launches, right? And so I'm pretending I've been hired and paid a lot of money to launch this book. And I'm giving myself a year runway this time, which I've never done before. Okay, good. A lot of you are going to play with me. Okay. So if you're relaunching, you're thinking about your 3 W's. Why? Is there a new product, a new hook, a new angle, a day of? What's the kind of cool reason? And remember, you can make one up. When is about, is there an ideal timing based on like something going on in the world and or the right amount of time for your strategy? And then the when is you're going to commit to going all the way with yourself. Okay. Yeah, Wendy, you're going to put together a pitch and hope you get hired. I love that. So you say, yeah, if you were trying to get the job to promote, to be hired to do this book launch for someone, what's the pitch you'd have to put together? What's the strategy you would need to sell them on in order for them to hire you? I love it. Freaking love that. And then you go do it. Okay. So who feels like based on this, that you are going to be able to walk away from today and put together a plan for your relaunch and launch? You're gonna put together, we'll send you the replay so you can go back through these slides and you can say, okay, I really like the idea of ambassadors, or I really like the idea of, I'm really gonna focus on social. Maybe you're gonna do a homework and go find out where your ideal person is even hanging out because you haven't had the chance to think about that. Okay, so P for plan in the chat if you are going to put together a real legit launch or relaunch plan. Like you got some ideas today that you are building on. Okay, great. Now, I am invested now. Okay. We've got this awesome group of us here that's going to be launching and relaunching. And I want to make sure you get to go all the way. And a lot of stuff we talked about, maybe you don't know how to reach out to a bookstore. Maybe you don't know how to send an inspiring email to 300 people and make them want to be your book ambassadors with excitement and passion. Maybe you want a script for that. Okay. If you want help with actually doing this, both from a how to flesh out the rest of the strategies and or have the accountability to do what Wendy's doing, like actually be the person who's been hired to run this book launch, then I hope you will join us in the club. Those of you in the Monetize Your Book Club, we meet every month to deep dive into a particular strategy, all the things we talked about today, how to get book tour sponsors, how to talk to bookstores, how to have an exact template. If you want literally my bookstore pitch, you want my fill in the blank template for book sponsors, you want my exact how to get featured in the media. If you want all of my templates, all the scripts, all the things, then please continue on with us and join the club. Those of you in the club, this is what we're going to be doing every month. Okay. So I want you to think about what you wish you'd done if you launched before, what you want to do if it's going to be your first round, and you're going to create your plan for your ideal book launch. And then I hope, and team, if you would put in the chat that you will join us in the Monetize Your Book Club. It's a monthly meeting with me and then a monthly implementation session. So you actually do the work. And those of you that join as our founding members, which we only have open right now for the first group that joins, okay, you're going to actually learn how to make sales regularly with your book, open those doors for opportunities. So we have strategy sessions, implementation sessions, and just for our founders, we're going to be doing quarterly networking events so that you can actually meet people like those of you in this room who love each other, who support each other, who could be affiliates and book ambassadors and joint partners that host events and co-do book tours. Can you imagine? A friend of mine told me she did a book tour with 5 other women, and they went to Martha's Vineyard and they went to New York City. They made a book tour in a group, and it offset the expenses, and it was so fun. And they also had big crowds because they had all 5 of them promoting. So if you want to learn how to do that, right, that's what we're going to be doing in the networking, and we'll have all these other guest experts. All right. So you get all the trainings, all the templates, all of the things, but we're going to focus and drill in once a month on a specific strategy. So one whole month, it'll be book sponsors. One whole month, book bundles, paid keynotes. And then you also, if you want to, get to come to our event in New York City from 4 to 6 on October 7th, where we have industry insiders. We're going to have a media producer, a TEDx organizer, a speaking agent, a book PR person who's launched like big New York Times bestsellers. And you get to come to that event, or you can watch it virtually if you can't come to New York. All right. So if you want to make daily sales with your book, and you want to open these opportunities every single month, even if it's been 20 years since you wrote your book, then I would love you to join us in the club, which is normally $5,000. And we are making sure right now for founders, it's $997 for the entire year. Okay. So right now, Sue, we're just doing the founding members at $997 because we have all the bonuses. And so just if Amy, if you could message Sue and connect, and we can figure out a plan if you need to break it up, but otherwise it's $997. Okay. So team, would you share the link so that anyone who wants to join us in the club can do so that we can start right away and implement everything that we're doing here month to month? You can grab the link right there. Those of you that are already in, I know a lot of you are already in the club with us, so we'll be diving into this in a major way. You're doing your book commercials right now. That's going to help you with a lot of these different visibility pieces. And then we'll be diving into book bundles, book sponsors, and everything over the next few months. All right. So thank you all so much for being with us today. I am excited for these books to get relaunched and launched the way that you've imagined, the way that you've dreamed, the way that you deserve. And I know we can't get it all done in an hour, so I really sincerely hope to get to continue with you so we can really do it together as a group and support each other's book launches. Margaret Mead said, "Who thinks," I'm going to paraphrase, okay? If anyone knows the exact quote, you can share it. Who thinks that a small group of committed citizens can change the world? But actually, it's the only thing that ever has. So we are a mighty group of committed authors, experts, coaches, entrepreneurs that are committed to change the game in publishing for you, for the people you're here to serve, and for the world. We can only do that together. So I think Margaret Mead's spirit is here with us. And I am excited. Those of you in the club, we have a vision casting session tonight. So I will see you at 6 p.m. Eastern. And I hope to see many, many of you. When you get in the club, we'll get you a one-on-one session to get you all caught up. And we will make sure to help you make this launch a reality. All right, everybody, great job today. Mwah. See you soon.